is very clear right from the start. One, I'm sorry I didn't upload yesterday. I slept like trash that night before, so I just wasn't feeling good. Plus, I was still tweaking the head brain script deal. So yeah, that's why this basically is happening today instead. I do apologize for that. So basically, we'll be reviewing both Neo 1 and 2. For this review, I'm just going to cover some stuff, not everything. Just do it like that instead. Especially since if I tried to cover every tiny microscopic thing in two game franchises in one video, this video would be way too long. Alright, now that we've gotten that heads up out of the way, let's start it off. I'm going to start off with Nioh 1 because it came first, obviously. Now here's the thing. Nioh 1, I'm going to start off with this, is that I'm not a big fan of the William character. Not probably for the reason most people would guess. It's actually just that I don't really get much info about this character. It's a character who's kind of just like, okay, you're playing as this dude. Go fight. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's more or less it. Yeah, you could piece together some stuff, but by the time I finished the game, I was just like, okay, so he's a ex pirate turned samurai. And that's about all I got for the guy, really. Aside from he has a potential love interest that isn't really well set up either, to be honest. So it's just William as a character to me has plenty of potential. If you write that potential, is the catch. I don't feel like he was really fleshed out well enough to be an actual MC, especially when it felt like most of the time he was just kind of deferring to other characters instead, which kind of sucked. I mean, thankfully, I was able to circumvent that issue pretty easily by just like deciding to go like friggin' zone out and just get lost in the gameplay part. Which honestly, I feel like that's where Nioh 1 shines best, really, is in its gameplay. Especially if you go down the ninjutsu or Amyo Jutsu path. I feel like those two help flesh out the gameplay even further when it's already a relatively solid enough gameplay. Would I say it's flawless? No. I wouldn't say it's flawless by any stretch. And I wouldn't say it gets better much either. But we'll get into that. When it comes down to it, when I dig for honestly what my favorite part of Nioh 1 is, I think for me it's the fact that instead of being some high fantasy, it is kind of more taking notes from the real world a little bit. Not much at all. Let's be clear here. There isn't a ton of real worldness in it. Okay? In Nioh 1's world, yokai aren't just some stories or fairy tales or things to scare children into behaving. They're an actual thing that will kill you. So obviously, real worldness is not the reason you're playing this game. Let's just be real, okay? No. You're not playing this game for its real world examples of real things. No. The real reason you're playing it is just because it is that Dark Souls. You have to play it, learn it in order to not die eventually, and even then, you're meant to die anyways. You're meant to die 10 times a day over and over again. You're not meant to have it easy here at all. And honestly, I love it for that. It's one of the things that honestly attracted me to Dark Souls 2. It's the thing that I love, even though I don't always love everything in it. It's something I love about Dark Souls 3. It's something I love in many a Soulsborne-esque game, is that difficulty is based off of, are you being stupid, yes or no? And if you're like me, you say, yes, I'm being stupid, but I'm going to keep going with it anyways. Don't ever use me as your example of high-end play of anything Soulsborne-esque, because that's a terrible decision. I am terrible at these games. I will always be the first to tell you this. I am the first one to just charge in half-cocked like a nutcase and see if things work. which I don't advise doing, mind you. When it comes down to it, I do love this game. Like, I will fight people on the streets. I do love this game, even though I feel like it's flawed. I do feel like there are some things I don't entirely agree with in the game, but I'm having too much fun to care, is the thing. And honestly, if I being honest with not just myself, but also, as always, I try to be honest with both me and yous. Honestly, for me, Nioh 1 is a really solid, fun game. If you're willing to be patient and not do what I do, is the key thing. Be patient, be ready to die almost daily, if not multiple times in a day. Then you will have more and more fun as you just accept you are meant to die. You're meant to die a ton so you can learn what the hell happened to you. That's the whole goal here. Die as many times as it takes for you to notice, oh, that's what the motherfucker do. That's why I keep dying. You dick. You're meant to die a bunch until you figure out patterns, timing, what needs to be done, and what should be avoided. I really wish I could stop my camera from doing that, but I have no clue how. Oh well. When it comes down to it, honestly, it's just a situation of you're meant to die, so be ready for that. And you'll have a good time if you brace for that. But that also is kind of a large reason why I'm going to give it this score specifically, because I did have so much fun. Especially once I got into ninjutsu, which honestly fleshed out my already pretty fun arsenal here into just something that I just loved and couldn't get enough of. Even though I kind of wish I had more ninjutsu capacity by the end of it all. And yes, I maxed that sucker out, and still felt like I needed more. Honestly, for me, Nioh winds up at a very solid, okay, 7 out of 10. Some might be thinking, wait, why 7? And honestly, the simple reason is just because there are certain things I wish were tweaked, certain things I wish were a little different, certain things I wish were a little bit more fleshed out, and then the fact that honestly, as much as I wanted to and kept trying to as I played over and over again, there's just something that isn't something about William himself that makes him just not an enjoyable MC, really. Especially since he's constantly just deferring to other characters so much that honestly I kind of wondered when was the next time I'd hear this fool speak a word. It can get a little irritating to granted, you don't mind it as much if you're me because at least you're like, well, at least Hanzo's pretty cool. At least freaking, I think it's Oka. I can't remember the love interest's name now to save my life, which sucks, but oh well. You're kind of like, okay, it's these two who you're deferring to the most at least. So, okay, I guess. But I kind of just wish William himself was a stronger MC. Now, now we have to slide into Nioh 2 because that's the first thing I have to bring up is the character creator. In Nioh 2, instead of playing as William again or playing as some, like playing as Hanzo or whatever have you, instead you are playing as a character you make yourself for very specific reasons that I don't want to go into because as much as I do love Japanese culture and also its history and its yokai, I love all that stuff, even though yokai honestly freak me the living F out because I don't do well with freaky deaky shiz. But I still find them really interesting and compelling. But I have to say this. I don't want to, but I have to. I'm not a fan of the yokai part of it. Not the killing of yokai, but you yourself being, your character you made being this half human, half yokai. Here's the thing. Concept-wise, mwah, I love it. It's a breath of fresh air. It is freaking brilliant. But I wish it wasn't something so pathetically underbaked and just underdeveloped. It honestly, to me, it makes me think of like someone who's just been hired and was basically told, don't put much effort into it, don't do a ton of work, don't waste any of our resources, really. Just do the most bare minimum you can while making it look acceptable enough. Honestly, that's what it kind of felt like. Yay, I can play as Phantom, Brood, or Feral type yokai. No, really, only three options, but to make matters worse, those three options kind of looked like crap, anyways. Oh, yay, Anorexic Phantom, who has a weird shelf thing going on when they have their. When they turn into yokai. Like, literally, there you could see these, like, unfinished texture, flat places as you look at their freaking pant legs or their bottom clothing, which is weird. Honestly, I just hated the yokai character creator part because it was pathetic. It was worthless. It was a joke. Oh, yay, I could pick as one of these three very limited, can't customize it for crap yokai. And my only customization really is which one of these few select horns, or do you want to have the same hair even though it's not actually the same hair? Do you want to have that? That's it. That's literally all it is. It's just, do you want to customize it so you have different hairstyle, or do you want to have different horns? And even then, they're limited in both. Both have limited selection choices from there, which kind of sucks for me. And honestly, it was really just a bummer. Like, I wanted anything but this. I didn't want this minimalistic crap. This game, honestly, when it comes to its yokai character, felt like it was the sign, the warning that this game was going to be like most live service games: trash, underdeveloped, undercooked crap, where I should have gotten a refund. That's kind of what it felt like at first. Now, thankfully, as you actually play the game, you start to see that it's not live service crap like what we've been getting for too long. Thankfully, thank thankfully for that. Like, that was a good thing to see. I was worried because of how bad that yokai character creator is. Now, granted, its human character creator is amazingly good. Honestly, probably up there. Not the best, but sure as hell up there for the best character creator in a game. I do have some small, tiny, minor things that I have an issue with when it comes to that character creator. Sure, totally, that's a fact. Is any of it game breaking? Hell no. Is any of it bad enough to point dock? No. Is it bad enough to make me think, man, people should get refunds? Hell no. Is it bad enough, though, to definitely deserve being brought up? Yes. But thankfully, I can just drop it from there. Thank you. When it comes down to it, the next thing I have to bring up, though, is that there are tons of things you could have done with this whole half human, half yokai thing. So many things you could have done with this. You could have made it so we had a full, almost as fully fleshed out character creator where we got to customize the yokai aspect. Do you know how many yokai there are? There are tons. That's one of the things that makes freaking yokai so badass is they come in almost 1,000 or more different flavors. And you used none of them for your half human. What the fuck? Really? What's more is, and this part to me is just laughable, a lot of the actual mission loops are kind of just the same thing on a loop, ironically. Or tragically, depending on your view. Now, thankfully, once I'd gotten to Endgame, I'm not going to tell you nothing about the ending for spoiler reasons, obviously. What I will tell you is I kind of felt bummed and kind of cheated a little bit. Instead of an actual solid ending, I feel like I just got cliffhangered again for really no good reason. No good or justifiable reason either. And no, I'm not going to buy DLC. You can't pay me to buy their DLC, honestly. I've finished the bulk of the game, and honestly, with how crappy the two endings were, just one after the other, with a crap ending, I don't think I want to play a third anyways. Not unless I were to gain some kind of a legal document saying, we won't screw this up this time. Sincerely, the idiots who screwed up the last ending. Until I have something like that that's legally binding, I don't think I want to. I don't think I want them to touch this franchise again. Because again, the endings twice in a row were so bad that it's kind of a piss poor joke. I said it. But you know what's the real depressing part is I mean it. I really wish I didn't. Especially since honestly, in some aspects, the gameplay took the hell off, even if it did make a couple decisions I don't agree with. I will get into that in a moment. Because I can't avoid it, even if I want to. And really I want to. First things I have to say is honestly, I don't think I would have finished the endgame content if it wasn't for two of my homies deciding to take some pity on me. If it wasn't for them, I would have never finished that endgame. The endgame sucks. It's literally just defeat these bosses you've already done in a gauntlet. Why? Did I do something to you? Why is your endgame that? Just that and that's it. Hell, you actually put in less effort in this game's endgame than in Nioh 1's endgame. And my first question is what in the hell's wrong with you and why? Whatever lie that's being spread to developers out there about gauntlets that suck, because they suck, they're not fun, they're not interesting. Cool, I've beaten the same dudes I've already beaten already, even though now they're just stronger and cheaper. They don't do anything new. They don't have new patterns, don't have new effects, no new nothing. They don't even look different. They're the same shiz because it's cut, copy, paste. I don't like that. It's stupid. It's dumb. And what's more is, for some moronic reason, instead of, getting some specific cool shiz for smiting this bull, no, you get the same. Roll dice. What do you get if you get anything at all? Here's the thing. Here's my advice for anyone who's developing right now because you clicked on this video because you're bored as hell or because you wanted something to play in the background. I am begging of you, if you are a developer right now who's watching this, I am begging of you, do not repeat this crap. No. When people do freaking boss gauntlets, or better yet, do the better thing, more interesting thing of facing a giant big bad from hell, please don't do roll of the dice BS. Give actually cool shiz for doing it. I know. It's such a shocker. Whoever would have thought of this idea. Oh wait, anyone with a brain cell could have told you this idea. So why people keep doing gauntlets that have jack for payout, I will never understand. I have to assume it's because of idiocy or drugs. I can't think of what else it could be. I can't. It has to be drugs. And whatever drug you want, please hand it over. Maybe it'll make it feel better. Can I not quit doing that? Oh my lord. When it comes down to it, honestly, I just hated these boss gauntlets because they weren't fun. They weren't interesting. They weren't compelling. And for my struggle during this BS gauntlets, I got nothing for it, really. Unless you count a middle finger. Because then I got plenty of that. I got tons of that. I got tons of middle finger for it. And like I said, honestly, especially in this newer one in Nioh 2, I just honestly the the freaking last boss gauntlet mission I had left, and it was so bad. It was so terrible. It was such trash that honestly, to also get F all for it was kind of depressing a little bit. Now we get to the real problem for me. For me, this is actually a big mistake, and it was probably the dumbest choice you could have made as a whole, especially for a sequel. Now, here's the thing. Honestly, when I played the first one, I did ninjutsu. I didn't touch Amyo Jutsu because in order to make Amyo Jutsu, I felt like be worthwhile, I had to get a specific skill for it, which I couldn't get at the time without beating my head in. So instead, I decided to just stick with ninjutsu. Now here's the thing. Just ninjutsu was great, but I was constantly, as I was finishing it off, I kept wishing I had a way to increase my ninjutsu capacity past the cap, the hard cap. You can never have more than this, even if you have 99 ninjutsu and all the passives to increase capacity. You can only ever have a max capacity of 40. Now, the thing is this was fine, but it also kind of made it a little hard to incentivize using more stuff that were outside of the cheap stuff, the cheap ninjutsus, because each ninjutsu you attach has a cost. The more of that specific one you have, the bigger the cost. For example, I think it was shurikens. They for each one shuriken was a cost of a 0.1, if I remember right. So basically, as I kept adding them on, which I could have a maximum, if I remember right, 12. The thing is what this does is this makes me kind of incentivized to specifically stick with the cheap stuff like the shuriken, the kunai, the storm kunai, if I remember right, or was it the Hiroku Dama that was cheaper than the storm knife? I can't remember which, but it was kind of incentivizing me to just use the cheap stuff and to spam those only, which kind of sucked. This is even worse, mind, billions of times worse for Amyo Jutsu. Amyo Jutsu is basically worthless by comparison. Even though it's something you can't really block, it is made pretty much null and void. Solely because the Amyo Jutsu across the board is more expensive than the ninjutsu. So to have it being so much more expensive than the ninjutsu, and for you to have the same maxed out capacity of 35, and that's all you can ever have, I don't care if you have 99 magic. I did too, and it didn't increase the capacity past the 30 at all. So yeah, no. I've dabbled in Nioh 2 and done a ninjutsu and Amyo Jutsu mix. And I've tried it both ways, where I had 99 Amyo Jutsu, one where I had 99 ninjutsu. It changed nothing. With passives included and all that stat pointage, that 35 was the most I could ever have. That's it. Fin. Which sucked, honestly. It sucked because I loved doing that in the prior game, especially since it gave me multiple tools to deal with stuff, and I just kind of got less tools in Nioh 2 for the sake of screw me, here are fewer tools, more or less. It was a dumb design change, a dumb design decision as a whole, and it's something someone should have said, hey, wait, hold up. This stuff is really liked. People love using this stuff. Why are we penalizing them for using the stuff they like? Why not instead either leave it alone or expand on it? But no one apparently was there to say any of that at all. Or that guy was just fired. Could have been both, honestly. Which sucks, because honestly, I did love utilizing just as much ninjutsu as I was using of my actual other methods. Like, for the big fun about both Nioh 1 and 2 is just how much stuff you have at your person to use against everybody. What's that? You have a sniper way down there who's shooting at you? Okay. Take the table and flip it on that SOB and start sniping him. You could do that. You could literally snipe the dude sniping you from afar. You can even stun lock opponents. Or you could just say F it, bring out your giant freaking hand cannon, and blow their brain out. Which was fun. I never thought that would be as fun as it did. But there was something fun about, hold up. You're trying to get in close? Okay, let me sit down and just destroy your brain cells. Bye-bye. Move on. It was just fun having all these many tools, and then it kind of sucked having these tools, some of these extra tools that I liked having, kind of minimized. That part sucked. Especially since, honestly, it felt like there was already too few anyways. So, now I have even less tools, even less capacity to take more tools, which sucked. Like, honestly, I feel like the game doesn't really shine in its story at any point. Even in Neo 2, I don't really feel like its story is the real thing that's shining. I feel like the real thing that's shining the most for me is its gameplay, where I am going around and I am going from I am hitting opponents with a longbow to shooting opponents with a matchlock to shooting opponents with a hand cannon to utilizing kunai shuriken and caltropes and all this other stuff. And then finally, at some point or another, I'll take out my friggin' surigama and I will cut them like a fish. It's fun. Just the fighting part of it, the combat is where it shines. And I don't feel like they really did much in the right direction when it comes to that. I feel like they just kind of decided, okay, let's make Amyo Jutsu kind of just trash now and let's minimize ninjutsu. And that's it. I feel like that's where they had to have drawn the line or just decided, that's good enough. Which kind of sucks because I wish instead they had just made things bigger and better, in a sense. That's not the right way to phrase it, but it's probably as close as my worthless brain is going to be getting anytime soon. I love the game, and I do. It is something I am going to pick up, especially when I'm wanting to just have tons of tools and murder stuff blindly. I will pick the game up again. But I'm always kind of going to be having that little nagging thought of, what if it was better, though? What if it was more? What if it had better writing? What if it had better design decisions in certain areas? What if they decided instead to take certain aspects and just say, F it, we didn't do enough, let's go bigger, let's go bolder, you know? Which kind of sucks and saddens me a little bit, but I still love the game. But it's all these negatives, these positives. Honestly, I don't feel like I can give Neo 2 that much a better score, honestly, more or less. I feel like I have one option, the same score. Because like I said, as much as I will pick it up, I'm probably not going to pick it up as much as I did Neo 1. Because at least for Neo 1, I felt like it was better made. Not by a ton, but by just enough to the point where honestly I'm probably going to go with that one more often. Which kind of sucks because I really wanted to be screaming Neo 2 is such an amazingly better game. I would have loved to have said that, but I'd be lying to you all. I'd be lying to myself. And I'd never look myself in a mirror again without feeling disgusted. I already do that twice on a Tuesday, anyways. We don't need to add to that. Honestly, for me, Neo 2, despite having some things that honestly I do feel like were better, there's enough here that's either too similar, not really important, or stuff that kind of sucked that it was worse off than it was. That honestly, I can only give it a 7 out of 10. The same score as its prior game because honestly, in too many ways, it kind of feels like Neo 2 was just like the sorry we screwed up the first game. We made what the first game should have been. Even though in some aspects the first game did better in my opinion, like Ninjutsu and Omnio Jutsu were better hands down in Neo 1 because you had the capacity to make sure you felt like you were using all your systems, all your tools. I don't feel that in Neo 2. I feel like, yay, you made my favorite thing kind of worthless and not worth it. Hell, honestly, in order to actually beat the game, I finally just said F this noise and basically ditched all of Omnio Jutsu and pretty much all of Ninjutsu and just instead re-put all those points into just health. No, really. That really sucked. I still love the games and I'll still pick them up because, like I said, gameplay is where they really shine. Not anything really else. I feel like that's the only places they shine is gameplay. Um. So yeah. Instead, now tomorrow is going to be the opinion video. Hopefully, it's a topic people will relate to. I don't know. Probably not. We'll see. It could just be my own twisted madness that has this. But we'll see. I will see you all next time. I hope you managed to laugh at me, laugh with me, Okay, I'm gonna keep this as quick as I possibly can. The two people who saved my dairy air, who made it so I could even finish the endgame content for Neo 2 at all, was thanks specifically and solely to the homies Rain and Blood. If it wasn't for those two, I never would have been able to finish that endgame content at all. So just I wish I can. I don't think they really gave me anything like a Twitch or a YouTube or really much of anything, but I will say this much: if they ever do start up anything like that, go show them some love ever because they freaking saved the day. They freaking I can't even emphasize just how helpful they were and how much they made that whole terrible boss gauntlet actually feasible. So honestly, thank you. If you two do decide to ever watch this and you want push through all this, I'm sorry that past me screwed up and didn't go through the whole long mention of it all. So I will mention here quickly, as quick as I can, that honestly, you guys kicked ass. You guys were the best. You guys saved my dairy air. I owe you both a beer or whatever your favorite soda is. I owe you freaking a night out on a town, all right? I owe you guys big for this because if it wasn't for you two, I never would have been able to finish this thing at all. So thank you a billion times over. Thank you for coming in, swooping in like freaking to save the day. I just thank you both, honestly. All right, now the video's over. We're done now. I swear.